Title: A Summer in Barcelona. Part 1. Arrival in Spain. Sophia, a 24-year-old student from Germany, had always dreamed of spending a summer in Spain. She had enrolled in a Spanish language course in Barcelona. When the plane landed at El Prat Airport, she was filled with excitement. The warm, sunny air gave her a new energy. After collecting her luggage, she found a taxi to the apartment she had rented for 2 months. The building was old but charming, with balconies full of flowers. The landlord, Mrs. Garcia, greeted her at the door. She was a kind, elderly woman who spoke only Spanish. Sophia tried to introduce herself in Spanish, but she struggled with words. Mrs. Garcia smiled warmly and said, "No te preocupes. Aprenderás rápido." Sophia smiled back, understanding the meaning. "Don't worry, you'll learn quickly." That night, Sophia unpacked her suitcase and sat by the window, listening to the sounds of the city. It was noisy but full of life. She couldn't wait to start her adventure the next day. Part 2. The First Lesson. The next morning, Sophia woke up early, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. She got dressed and walked to the language school, which was only 10 minutes away. The streets of Barcelona were lively, filled with people, bicycles, and small cafes. At the school, she met her teacher, Carlos, a friendly man in his 30s who spoke both Spanish and English. The class was small, with students from Italy, France, Sweden, and Poland. Carlos started with simple introductions. "Hola, ¿cómo te llamas?" Sophia answered, "Me llamo Sophia." Everyone clapped for each other's attempts. By the end of the lesson, she had learned basic greetings and how to order food. After class, the students went to a cafe together. Sophia ordered her first coffee in Spanish. "Un café con leche, por favor." The waiter smiled and answered, "Muy bien." Sophia felt proud. She was already beginning to understand small things, and she knew this summer would change her forever. Part 3. Exploring the city. On the weekend, Sophia decided to explore Barcelona on foot. She started from La Rambla, the famous street full of shops, artists, and tourists. Street performers danced and played music. She bought a small souvenir and continued walking toward the Gothic quarter. The old, narrow streets were magical, with hidden plazas and fountains. At one small bookstore, she tried asking the shopkeeper for a Spanish novel suitable for beginners. The shopkeeper gave her a book with short stories. Sophia sat in a nearby park and tried reading a page. It was hard, but exciting. Later, she walked to the beach where people were sunbathing and playing volleyball. She sat in the sand, watching the sunset, and felt grateful for this experience. It was her first solo trip abroad, and she was already feeling stronger and more independent. Part 4. New Friends. By the 3rd week, Sophia had made new friends in her class. Julia from Italy was funny and full of energy. Pierre from France loved photography and often took pictures of their group. Sophia from Sweden had a calm personality and helped. Everyone practiced Spanish. Together, they planned to visit Park Güell on Saturday. They bought tickets in advance and arrived early. The colorful mosaics and unique architecture by Antoni Gaudí amazed them. They took many photos, laughed, and spoke in a mix of Spanish and English. Sophia realized that friendship didn't need perfect language. After visiting the park, they went to a local market and tried different Spanish dishes: paella, churros, and patatas bravas. It was a perfect day. That night, Sophia wrote in her journal, "I came here to learn Spanish, but I'm learning so much more about people, culture, and myself." Part 5. Challenges and Confidence. In the 4th week, Sophia faced her first big challenge. She lost her wallet on the metro. At first, panic hit her, but then she remembered the Spanish phrases she had learned. She went to the police station and explained the situation in Spanish as best as she could. The officer listened patiently and helped her fill out a report. Although the wallet wasn't found, Sophia felt proud of herself. She had handled a stressful situation in a foreign country using another language. That experience gave her more confidence. Back at the apartment, she told Mrs. Garcia about it. Mrs. Garcia hugged her and said, "Eres muy valiente," meaning, "You are very brave." Sophia smiled. That night, she realized that mistakes and problems were also part of learning and growing. Part 6. Cultural Immersion. Spanish Tortilla. During the lesson, she practiced Spanish with the other participants, and they laughed a lot. One evening, Carlos, her teacher, invited the class to a Spanish movie night. At first, the dialogue was fast and hard to follow, but she caught a few words and phrases. After the film, they discussed it in simple Spanish. Little by little, Sophia's vocabulary grew. She even found herself dreaming in Spanish sometimes. For the first time, she truly felt part of the local life, not just a visitor. Part 7. The Last Day. The final day of her stay arrived. Sophia woke up early and walked to the beach one last time. The sea breeze felt soft and familiar now. She thought about the past 2 months, the language lessons, the friendships, the small victories, and the challenges. At the school, there was a small farewell party. Each student received a certificate. Carlos congratulated her and said, "You came here as a beginner, but you leave as a true learner." She hugged her classmates, knowing they had shared something special. That evening, she had dinner with Mrs. Garcia, who made homemade paella. They talked, this time mostly in Spanish, and laughed together. Before leaving, Sophia thanked her deeply. "Gracias por todo." At the airport, she looked back one last time and whispered to herself, "I will return."